Welcome back to the Podcast Cafe. This is another Espresso Shot episode, here to help you grow your podcast and your business just one sip at a time. Today, I want to talk about something that not enough podcasters take advantage of: using your podcast as a low pressure, high impact testing ground for your business. Your podcast is basically a place for you to come test stuff out. It's almost like a lab. You can see what works, what doesn't, experiment with it, and then go from there. Let me break this down for you. Welcome to the Podcast Cafe, where we're serving up everything you need to know about podcasting, from tips, stories, and strategies for podcasters from podcasters. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst, the founder of Espresso Podcast Production, a full-service podcast agency helping business owners, creatives, and thought leaders launch and grow their shows. Whether you're just starting out or want to take your podcast to the next level, this is the place for you. Each week, we'll dive into practical tips, actionable strategies, and of course, stories from other podcasters so that you can build up a podcast that you love and that works for your business. So, grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get started. Welcome to the Podcast Cafe. Your podcast is a safe place to test out new concepts, new topics. If you want to make any shifts in your business, see how it performs on your podcast first. The reason is your podcast is the best place to try out your ideas before you bring them into your business, whether that's a new offer, a new framework, or a totally new direction. And here's why. You already have a built-in audience that trusts you. There's stuff in the podcast that you probably talk about that doesn't even see the light of day on social media. Podcasting is much more intimate. I have mentioned this before, where I'll tell stories in my podcast episodes that I don't tell just on social media. That's because this is a more intimate space for me and you to just chat. Another reason why this is the perfect testing ground is you're speaking directly to your ideal clients and listeners in every single episode. You're listening today because you want to be here. No one is making you listen to this episode. So when you think about you talking to your audience, they want to listen to you. And then they most likely want to either work with you, or at the minimum, they want to learn from you. So they are the ideal people to test out these new concepts on, because you know that they are already interested in what you have to offer. So like I said, if it's a new framework, a new offer, or a new direction, you can see how they respond to it. If you start losing listeners, that's a sign. But if you see more people in your DMs saying how great the episode is, that is also a sign. And I think that the most important part to this is there's less of a pressure to actually be perfect on your podcast. Social media is so buttoned up, and I mean, you can have personality in it. A lot of brands do, and a lot of brands thrive with that. But with your podcast, it's much more conversational. It's not just text on a post or a 30-second video or even a 3-minute video, right? It's a conversation. So in your episodes, you can ask your audience to message you. You can ask for feedback. You can pivot and see how they respond. It's not like launching a new offer with, an Instagram page, a fancy sales page, or even like a 10 email funnel. Your podcast is where you can float the idea, see if it lands, and then you can go and do those things. Those things are super important, right? Talking about it on social media, having the fancy sales page, having the email funnel. Of course, these are important in business, but you don't want to spend money on something that you don't know is going to work. I have a brand new offer that I actually talked about on here first, and I talked about in my own, groups that I'm a part of, because I wanted to test it out conversationally before I put money into hiring a copywriter for the sales page, having someone add it to my website, all the things that I don't enjoy doing. So that's why I talk about it before I actually put money behind it, because I know it's going to work and I know the results will be there and I know people are interested. So that's the first reason why I think your podcast should be your testing ground for a whole bunch of new stuff. So you might be thinking, okay, how do I actually test these concepts on my podcast? And here's a few ways that I would actually recommend that you do these. So number one, this is a storytelling platform. Share a story that reflects the concept. So if you've ever read the book, this is my book recommendation for the week, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Read this. Do it. The reason is this is a storytelling platform. Your brand has a story to tell. It just depends on what story you're actually telling, if that's going to be what makes you sales, what connects with your customers. We all have a million different angles we could take, so that's a whole rabbit trail in itself. But to stick to these quick episodes, reflect on like a story in your life that shares the new concept that you want to talk about. So if you're thinking about launching a, let's say, mindset coaching offer, tell a story about your own mindset and the result it created. See if that resonates. You can take it from a couple different angles and see which one finally gets people moving and responding to you. Another way I would recommend testing out these new concepts, topics, offers, frameworks, whatever it might be, is to run a mini series inside of your podcast. So of course your podcast is this big old thing, right? You could do mini series inside of it. I actually have a client, she booked a VIP session with me. We did a strategy session, and this is one of the concepts that we came up with, where she's going to obviously have a weekly podcast, but whenever things come up, she's going to do a mini series inside of that podcast. So it's almost like 3 to 5 episodes that you can use to build on top of each other and kind of create a podcast within a podcast. So you can also do this if you're thinking of launching a new offer. You can do like a 3 to 5 episode series on like episode 1 about the offer, episode 2, why it matters, episode 3, the results you'll see. Of course, there's strategy behind it. Don't just do 1, 2, 3, but label them for sure. Don't just say, this is why you should care, this is what it is, blah, blah, blah. Put some thought behind what can go into the mini series that will actually help you test out this new concept and see what people say. Okay, great. You're sold. You want to test stuff. You want to see what works. But why does this strategy work? Let me tell you. Testing on your podcast works because you're already building trust with your audience. So now you're gathering feedback from the audience that already trusts you. You know that they're already engaged because they're listening to your show. They wouldn't otherwise, like I said. They're not just passive listeners. They're actually engaging with your episode every week. And then you're also getting data. So what people replay, what people DM you about, which episodes get the highest amount of downloads, what links get the most clicks. I did an Espresso Shot episode. It's episode 20, the 3 podcast metrics that actually matter. And go listen to that because we talk all about links and knowing what actually works and clicks and all of that. So you'll get data by doing this in your podcast. It's almost like having a little bit of a focus group mindset, being able to test stuff out. It's just really good. So it also just takes the pressure off of you having to do it right on the first time and launching like a hard launch and then no one buys it, right? We've heard those stories. Maybe it's happened to us. I know I've launched stuff and they haven't been successful. That's just part of business, the testing phase. So your podcast is the testing phase. That's why it's so important for every business owner to actually have a podcast, is so then you have a place to test out new concepts. I have personally seen people build entire programs based on stuff that they think people will be interested in, and then they launch it and it just flops. And then on the other side of things, I've had clients that build programs based on what they're learning from their audience and testing it out and getting them excited. When they do launch, it's really successful. So it's just a way better way to do business. So what should you do next? If you have an idea brewing in your head, test it out on your podcast. I really encourage you to do that. Here's what I want you to do. Choose one topic that you've been thinking about and just reminiscing on, and then actually go and record a solo episode explaining the why behind this new concept or topic or offer or whatever it is. Like, just explain it. And then add a soft call to action. Something like, I'm thinking of building something around this. Send me a DM, insert word here, if you're interested to learn more before it goes live to everyone else. It's just do it. That's it. You don't need the perfect funnel. You just have to start the conversation. So that's everything for today's Espresso Shot episode. I hope that this episode gave you some new ideas and maybe even some courage to test out some new topics. Make sure that you send this episode to your business besties so they can do the same, or send me a message and let me know what you're going to test out in your podcast. My Instagram is Espresso Podcast Production. I'm basically always on there, so I'm excited to hear from you. And I cannot wait for you to listen to tomorrow's episode with Dawn Ledette. It's really a good one. It's all about how to have more self-trust in your own life. And she just gets so deep in it. I was blown away by this episode, so I cannot wait for you to listen to it tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me in the Podcast Cafe. I hope you're leaving with fresh ideas and inspiration to take your podcast to the next level. Remember, podcasting is a journey and you don't have to do it alone. I'm here to help you every step of the way. Let's connect. Be sure you follow me on Instagram at Espresso Podcast Production or visit espressopodcastproduction.com for more tips, resources, and behind the scenes insights. I'd love to hear about your podcasting journey. If you've enjoyed today's episode, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling extra generous, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more podcasters just like you find the show. Until next time, grab your coffee, keep creating, and I'll see you back here in the Podcast Cafe.